So tonight's speaker is me and the lovely Alice Sheppard, who is the community manager for the Extreme Citizen Science Research Group at the University College of London. And together we're going to be talking about how you can get involved in City Nature Challenge. And Alice, I'll kind of be introducing City Nature Challenge in general, and Alice will be introducing you to iNaturalist, the app or the website that you can use to get involved in the challenge. So I will get us started with City Nature Challenge in general. I'm just going to share my screen with you. Hopefully you can see that. Yes, I'm getting some nods. Make that a bit bigger. Great. So if you can't hear me or the slides aren't working, please just feel free to turn on your microphone, someone, and tell me that. Okay, so City Nature Challenge first started in 2016, and it was created by the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles and the California Academy of Sciences, and basically they are still the overarching organizers of the whole event. In 2016, City Nature Challenge was just between two cities in the world. It was between Los Angeles and San Francisco. And over the years, this has really, really built up. London has been involved in the past few years. And in terms of actually kind of an organisation delivering an events that people can get involved in, Tower Hamlets were kind of first got involved in 2000, well, that we're aware of in 2019. So City Nature Challenge is all about bringing people together, either in person or digitally, and connecting them with nature and citizen science. So that's just about getting people involved in science, and in this case it's through looking for nature and recording nature. And the premise of it is using an app or the website called iNaturalist to upload photos of any nature that you find, to try and identify it. And the app actually helps suggest species that you might have found, and Alice will go into that a little bit later, and then to record that species so it might be used in future. And again, Alice will tell you more about that. So typically, prior to COVID-19, in your local area, you might have found that there were events that you could go to. You can do it on your own if you want to, or with your family or friends, but you could also go to events. Different organisations might be leading bat walks or tree walks that you could get involved in as a group. Obviously, since last year, things have changed significantly, and those events have been dramatically reduced or just completely stopped. But we have still been encouraging people each year to get involved in City Nature Challenge by themselves or in their household, their bubble. And don't know what your restrictions are where you are, but in the UK, you might be able to, if you're following guidelines, you might be able to go as a group of 6 of people and go out and record nature. So just a bit of an introduction to myself and Alice. It was an unconventional kind of meeting in what we first got, how we kind of first started interacting with each other. So basically we met in 2019 at the Natural History Museum, because the Natural History Museum in London is the leading partner in organising the challenge for London. And they were basically trying to get other organisations on board to help them deliver the challenge for London. And Alice was there, she knew about the event already. And I was going as a complete newbie and just wanted to see if the cemetery park could get involved. We first kind of collided when we discovered that we both have insanely, we have huge geeky passions, and not always the most the ones that you might expect. So I love spotted hyenas, and Alice is a massive nerd in astronomy. And so we basically came together through our love of those first, and then probably most importantly discovered that we both love working with communities, and that is something we do in our professions. And so Alice was absolutely amazing at kind of introducing me kind of one-to-one to City Nature Challenge, helping me get around using the app so that then I could start planning events across Tower Hamlets for people to get involved in. And Alice really amazingly created a leaflet that children could use at a park called Swedenborg Gardens, where they could walk around a trail and use this leaflet to help them engage with the park and record wildlife. And so as a result, in 2019, we delivered some really, really exciting events with the charity. So we delivered activities at Tower Hamlets Cemetery Park, Shandy Park and Swedenborg Gardens. And these are all parks that we've worked in before. A couple of them we hadn't done much work in, so it was really an amazing way for us to engage with local residents. So basically across 2 days, so City Nature Challenge is across 4 days, and across 2 days at the weekend, we delivered a full day of City Nature Challenge at Swedenborg Gardens, and then on the other day, wow, we really went for it. We started at Cemetery Park, Tower Hamlets Cemetery Park, and then we went to Shandy Park. So did a morning and an afternoon in each. At the Cemetery Park, we did a guided tour. We did a little bit of foraging with the people that came on that tour, so eating the edible plants that we have at the Cemetery Park whilst we were photographing them. We had May from Butterfly Conservation, and she had set up a moth trap and was helping the participants to ID the moths. We had microscopes that the participants could look at the moths more closely with. We provided guidebooks, so you don't just have to use the app or the website. You could also be using other material like any wildflower books you might have. We provided binoculars so that if that could just engage people a bit more in nature, it's not all just about looking at your phone and then, looking up every so often. There's lots of ways people can engage in City Nature Challenge. Sweep nets and bug pots and magnifying glasses are all really helpful for that. So the event was really successful, and I'm so sad that we couldn't carry them on last year and this year, but I'm hoping the Friends will be able to do so again another year. This slide is really just to give a little bit of inspiration. Hopefully the slides before did that too, but just to emphasize again that it's not just about looking at your phone. You could incorporate it into a run that you're already intending to do, or a walk. Maybe you and some friends really like photography. You might even have like a proper DSLR camera that you can upload the photos to on a website later. If you're in a park, it's really important to kind of leave the park as you found it. But if there is dead wood in the park, you can turn it over. Maybe you can find some worms, some earwigs under there that you can take photos of. And sometimes if you can't take the photo, that's fine. Just look at it and enjoy it and see how it's behaving. If you don't mind getting your hands dirty, you could always have a little look in the soil. Maybe if you've got a garden, if you have a hand trowel, you can have a look in the mud, or just get some gloves on and dig around, look at the worms, hold them, they won't hurt you. If you don't have binoculars and you want to get kids involved in this activity, I don't know if anyone here is involved in an organisation or you're just doing this as a personal interest. If you know any children, just making binoculars out of toilet roll holders is a really nice way to get children involved in City Nature Challenge as well. And you really can find nature in so many places. So as the title suggests, City Nature Challenge is kind of about cities. So largely really urban environments. Some of us might be lucky to be in cities that are very green, like London, but still there is so many things you can record just in what you might just think of as a concrete jungle, basically. So it's really about looking really closely and just really looking around you. And City Nature Challenge has really helped me over the years to just look around me and everything. I'm walking to the shop and it's really made me want to look at what's that on that brick. Is it moss? Is there lichen? If there's some dead wood, there might be some moss on there as well. There might be lichen, but there also might be fungi as well. There might be plants that are kind of creeping through the pavement, through the bricks. We often really underestimate those things we call weeds. which is just a human kind of term that we've put for plants that we just feel annoy us, are in places we don't want them, even though they can be so valuable to, well, I really enjoy looking at them, and I know quite a lot of people like to look at them, and they have beautiful flowers in their own right, but also really important for pollinators as well. So don't disregard those plants. They're wild and they're fascinating. Also, if you can't get out your house, it's very likely that you've got nature in your home. And I don't want to scare anyone in this talk, but you know, often there might be house spiders, or there might be moths in your home. There could be something on the windowsill. If you are lucky enough to have a balcony, there might be birds flying onto your balcony. Or if you have a garden, of course, I'm sure there will be plenty of things that you can find there. Also, maybe this is just a great opportunity to visit that park that you've been thinking that you should be visiting, that you haven't, either for a long time or you've never been to. City Nature Challenge is a really great way to discover the different green spaces that we have around us, or just those little bits of a street that there's like a hub of nature going on there. Obviously a bit of bias, I'm going to introduce two of the parks that we work in that are very close to our heart. Some of you, on the right is a photo from Tower Hamlets Cemetery Park. The Cemetery Park is looking absolutely beautiful right now, and in a couple of weeks, when it's City Nature Challenge at the end of this month, I'm sure it will look even more beautiful. We've got such a variety of animals and plants there. The flowers right now are incredible. So if you haven't been before, I really encourage you to go and try City Nature Challenge there. If you've been before, there's always something different to see. And by using City Nature Challenge, you'll probably get a different perspective on the park and see things that you hadn't before. And maybe because it's about IDing the plants, you might learn a thing or two as well. And on the left, there might be those parks nearby you that on first glance might not be as attractive, might not be attractive enough for you to think, oh, I'm going to go there and maybe have a picnic or kick a ball around. But sometimes these urban parks have real surprises that we're not expecting. And Swedenborg Gardens is a park we've been working in since 2018, trying to get more residents to use it, because there was a lot of issues with people fearing using the park because of antisocial behaviour. So we've been doing activities to get people using the park, but also making physical changes. So over the past couple of years, we've been developing this wildflower mound in this photo, which has just come on absolute leaps and bounds. I think we amazed ourselves at how well it did. So this photo was from the summer last year. But even at this time of year, there's going to be such a variety of different wildflowers to see. So if you've never been to Swedenborg Gardens and you live locally, you feel comfortable going there, then I recommend that could be a place to go to over the City Nature Challenge weekend, 4 days to ID what's there. So most importantly, I need to actually give you the dates of this year's City Nature Challenge. I know this says UK City Nature Challenge, but there are other cities around the world that are involved. So make sure to check out if your city is. I have a link at the end that will be able to tell you if it is. The weekend this year is from Friday the 30th of April till Monday the 3rd of May. And this year, I mean, as I said, in 2016, it started with Los Angeles and San Francisco. Now, every year it's been increasing, even through COVID. The number of cities getting involved and the number of observations of wildlife has increased. So this year there will be 400 cities involved, which is absolutely amazing. And 14 of those are in the UK. So that's really exciting. There's a bit less of an emphasis on the competition side this year and last year, just because people haven't been as able to get involved. And so although there is a leaderboard and you'll be able to track which city is doing the best, it really is about just getting people connected with nature, whether it's inside their homes or outdoors. Yeah, I think that is pretty much it for me. And I will hand you over to Alice now, who will introduce iNaturalist. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Sorry. Oh my goodness. I've not gotten used to technology just yet. Great. Should be okay for you to go now, Alice.
Yep, lovely. Thanks very much, Michelle. So now I'm going to share my screen, which I'll just put it back to the right slide before I do that. And I'm going to just expand this so that it's visible. From beginning, brilliant. So I've on several occasions asked my husband to take a picture of me using iNaturalist, and that is the picture in which I am pulling the least ridiculous face. It really makes me concentrate and screw my face up a lot. I'm just going to be sort of talking you through how to use the app. I think traditionally in City Nature Challenge, we didn't always have to use that app, but it is by far the easiest way to go about it. On the left, there's what it will look like on an iPhone when you're just taking a picture of something. I really like an app where you just press the green button. So a couple of years, just over 1 year ago, it was lockdown. I had COVID, but I still had one more lecture to give. And it was going to be about iNaturalist. It was going to be to University College London students. So I just went out into my garden and I saw these two little flowers and I had no idea what they were. They definitely weren't anything that I had planted. So I just snapped a picture and I screenshotted every bit as I went along. So if you want to take a picture of something, you literally just open the app, hold your phone over it. It'll ask you for access to your camera the first time. You can take as many photos as you want. You'll see there's the big plus box, so you can upload any pictures you took at another time, or you can just keep retaking the photo as many times as you want. It will ask, what did you see? It uses a combination of artificial intelligence on the spot and citizen science a bit later. Citizen science is really what I do for a living now. I spent many years volunteering in the field in astronomy, as Michelle said, and then I drifted over into University College London and community work. So the citizen scientists will do something called verifying your observations, which I'll go into later. But anyway, the immediate what did you see box, it will look in its own database of images. Oh, sorry, it just did something I didn't expect there. And this is what it came up with the first time. It'll give you a bit of information about the plant and whereabouts in the world you might find it. It'll show you several different pictures. You can scroll between them and think, does that look like it? Or does it not look like it? And it'll also tell you if other people have seen the same thing nearby, which is always useful. Scrolling down a little bit, put the date. I've never known it to get that wrong yet. There's a space for notes. I often use that and I'll say, I think it's this, but sometimes I'll only know the Finnish name or the Swedish name or just the British English name when the database actually has it as something else. That's something that other people can find later. And you can also make a note about what it's doing or anything interesting you see about it. It will ask you where it is. If you're seeing a butterfly and it's in the middle of the ocean or on planet Earth, then that's not terribly useful data to biologists. You might be given a map and have to sort of zoom in, but if you turn on the Wi-Fi or GPS, then it should get it automatically. There is one little issue with that, something called Geo Privacy. You don't want to tell everybody your address. You might even not want to tell everybody where you are. So it will give you the options of open or obscured, where it'll just sort of give a general area. It'll put the map, but it'll put a great big grey circle, so it could be anywhere in that, not necessarily at the centre. I don't care if it knows where I've been, but I don't want to give everyone my address. So I'll usually use that blurred unless I'm on holiday or taking a walk somewhere that's an obvious nature place. The last bit, captive or cultivated. There's always room for great debate among ecology people here, because then they'll say, okay, it's obvious if something is cultivated, if it's a pot plant and the council put it there, but what if it's second generation? What if it's dropped from seeds? What if it is a parakeet that many generations ago escaped from a London hothouse, or whatever the story is? I keep hearing that the original London hothouse story is a hoax. If it's your cat, then obviously it's not wild. Wild as cats love to act. But most things you will be able to say no to captive or cultivated, because most things are likely to be wild. And I admit I have used it on cultivated plants several times, including a potato I was trying to grow one year, just to sort of check what they are. And then you don't even have to upload the observation. So as you see, there's a lot of options that you can go through. Most of them you don't have to say anything. You can just sort of leave them as they are. So it's not huge amounts of work to enter each observation. Most of it is just press a couple of buttons. But it is a lot of fun. If you are not in the mood to be running around with a phone in your hand, you can go to the website instead. And you'll need to log in, but you use exactly the same username and password as on your phone. And this is where you do the verifying. You'll get a sort of live feed of what other people are classifying. It won't be moving around all the time. It'll just be a series of pictures, and you can click on them and decide not to verify it or to verify it if you think that you can help. You'll see the same pictures, detailed notes about what species it might be. It might offer you several options, and you can make a decision depending on what you think about it. If you want to, you can ask for examples of particular species, say whether they are that or not. So you might just agree with what the original person put, or you might suggest something new. You might mark that you agree with such and such a person. You might tell them something about the species, like, oh yeah, that tends to exist in this country, but not that one. Or I think it's more likely to be this species because it has that feature. You can get some quite fun discussions going. And you start getting to know people. There's someone called Tigger X who, I swear, that person verifies everything on iNaturalist, and it's a lot of fun. I've even said, oh, hi Tigger X, it's you again, and they responded very kindly to that. So if you really want to help during the second stage of City Nature Challenge, then do put London or your own city for place. Otherwise, just verify wherever you like. I'm not all that good at it, because although I was going to be an environmental scientist, I'm actually not great on species. I'm much better at physics. Still, I do love taking part, and it is really good to look at the website. And the website will offer you a lot more details about your own activity. For example, there's a bit of a map of where I've been. For example, there's my holiday in Finland a couple of years ago. There's Sweden, where I am now. Most places in the UK, you can see where I've been visiting my parents. You can see a long ago holiday in Scotland, and you can see when I was at a conference in North Carolina, USA. So it does kind of leave a trail. So again, if you want to keep your geo privacy, then make sure it's obscured or blurred. It will also show you a record of all your observations. You can go back, look at the pretty pictures, download them, make yourself a Facebook album of them, find out more about the species and about where else they've been classified. You can also zoom into the map and see where you've been on numerous other occasions, like, oh yeah, there was Ben and Christine's wedding, and oh yeah, that's when we went to that library, or oh yeah, that's when we went to the New Forest and we saw the beautiful demoiselle. I had never heard of them before. I thought it was a damselfly. Well, No, I know it isn't. That's just because of iNaturalist. Actually, one of my favorite things about iNaturalist is how incredibly relaxing it makes walks. Instead of just walking along, you're really looking at things around you and, oh, mushrooms. My husband is Finnish and he's really good at spotting mushrooms. And now, because of that, I've become a bit better at spotting mushrooms. I never ever used to notice mushrooms. So, how to use all this for City Nature Challenge? You might have noticed, actually, I'll just sort of pop back. You can see there's a little sign called project. Ignore it. Do not go anywhere near project for City Nature Challenge. 2018, we spent a long time trying to sign up to the project City Nature Challenge London 2018. It just did not work. And in the end, we found out you do not have to do that. So just in case anyone was worried, all you have to do is use your phone. And with the Geo Privacy, do it open or blurred, but not obscured. If it's obscured, then that means it won't say the location at all, and it won't contribute towards your city's results. So between Friday, April the 30th and Monday, May the 3rd, just your own house or garden or your local park or anywhere that you're able to get to. I gather lockdown restrictions have lifted over there, so maybe you can get out into the country if you want to, just stay in London's zone. But if you'd rather do the website part, then between Tuesday, May the 4th and Sunday, May the 9th, then go and verify the observations of the last few days. And the results are going to be announced on Monday, May the 10th. And I've put the name of the website, but honestly, just Googling City Nature Challenge will get it for you. Now, a question I'm often asked is, are these things really science? You're not exactly putting a quadrat somewhere and saying exactly how many of this species are there. People are not going to record everything they see. They're going to pick what they like best. They're not going to get as many birds as they like because the wretched things always fly away just as you click the camera. So what you get is going to be quite biased. Yes, that is true. It's not rigorous science, but it's a wonderful way into science. It'll also show, for example, if there's been any migration, like for example, there's lots of records of this creature in summer, but none in winter, or if something's been introduced that wasn't there before. And it's a great way to check as well, like if, like, oh yes, this has been seen in this area, so it's probably that. And as you can see, I just put a screenshot of the data quality assessment, which some of you might be finding interesting. Like, what does count as research grade? iNaturalist observations are used by some biology databases, and they have to meet all those requirements you can see on the bottom. Like, do 2 or more people agree that it's this species? And I think there are several scientific papers written about it. But there's a lot you can do even with sort of not very rigorous data. In any case, although this is a discussion for another time, citizen scientists produce really, really good science. I think it's time for me to stop talking for a moment, take a sip of water, and give you all a couple of minutes to download iNaturalist or its sister app Seek, which does not ask for your name or anything. I don't think it contributes to databases, but it's a good way in. So now, for anyone who would like to try it out, if it's the first time you're doing this, or even if it isn't and you'd just like to play a game, then please open the app, point your phone at any of these pictures and see what happens. And for goodness sake, do not submit the tiger picture to the database.
Yes, it is worth noting that sometimes the suggestions aren't right. Often that they are, but sometimes they aren't. So it really takes common sense to really look at those photos and things that you're being given and whether you submit it or not. And sometimes, Alice, sorry, I don't know if you're going to mention this, but you'll see at the top of the suggestions. So I took a picture of that green alkanet in the bottom left, and it has correctly identified it. But before it gives all the top suggestions, it gives you a suggestion of the genus. And that means you're not choosing the exact species, you're giving like a general genus for that plant. So sometimes I've done that when I'm looking at the photos that they've provided and I just don't feel 100% certain which one exactly it is. So then I just choose the suggested genus instead. And sometimes people from the community, when they look at that photo, they might have a better knowledge than I do already. Like sometimes you get people who are like fungi people on iNaturalist, so they can be a bit better guidance on what they are. But
absolutely. Yes, I just use the genus all the time.
It was really cool. I was very lucky to be able to go to Greece last year, and I saw a big white bird flying above my head. I was so excited, I was screaming, and quickly took a picture of it. And I was sure it was a white stork in my excitement, and I actually uploaded it as a white stork. And everyone was telling me it was a pelican. So even sometimes when you submit it incorrectly, which isn't ideal, but even if you do, sometimes people observing it can tell straight away that it isn't. And I was amazed because it was quite a distant photo that they were able to confirm that.
That's amazing to see a pelican, though.
Yeah, it's very
sure I've ever seen
even when I thought it was a
pelican.
white stork, it was exciting.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd say don't worry about uploading something that's wrong, because there are community members there on the website looking at it who would enjoy correcting it.
Yeah. Has everyone had a bit of a go at that?
And that's the sort of answers. Although I probably should have specified the species of mint moth, but there you go. Anyway. So yeah, please don't report that there are tigers loose in London, otherwise, well, someone's probably going to guess what's really going on, but it would be interesting if BBC News said, oh my God, something interesting is happening here. Someone let loose an unusual pet. So this is something that I didn't actually get a chance to iNaturalist, but I wish I had, and I can still upload the observation as a photo via the website. I was just taking a walk in Sweden when I first arrived in February. I just recently moved here, and it's lovely, by the way. There was snow everywhere. There were all these tiny, adorable little red timber houses, which are actually allotment sheds. And there was a deer in one of the allotments. I do not know what species of deer it was, but it's something that I'm going to upload at some point. I thought I had, but I obviously hadn't when I look at my record. Come on. There we go. I was actually walking along with a friend who didn't spot the deer at all, but I hope she gets another chance. So this is just a few of my observations. You can end up making rather a lot if you get into the habit of it. I have to blame my boss for getting me into the habit of it, because he wanted me to teach our citizen science students how to use it. And then after that, I started giving workshops to City Nature Challenge event leaders on iNaturalist and how to use it. And really the best way is just to have a go. The bee in the top left and the wood anemones underneath, and the tree bit on the right, I've completely forgotten what kind of tree it was. They're all in Sweden. And those Canada geese chicks are in Peckham Rye Park. It's a lovely way to think, oh, and instead of, there's a moth in my room. Oh, there's a moth in my room. What species is it? So instead of getting scared or shocked or anything, you just point your iNaturalist app at your lampshade. So in the end, it adds another dimension to if you want to go walking or having some fun, or building up your photo albums and losing all your phone's storage space. So thank you very much, everyone, for participating.